This is Kal Kat, the Kal Kat store. And this is a review of Blue Beetle, which I just saw today. Didn't really know this character. Apparently it's been around as long as Batman and the other ones have been around, but I didn't know much of anything about him. Like there's been 3 of them. This is the 3rd one. This is the Miles Morales type Spider-Man one. From the other one. But also, it's a little bit of Venom thrown in there. It's a little Jack Kirby, and it's a little bit the bad guy. The bad guy is kind of a Jack Kirby creation. But that's yeah, because he worked for Marvel and DC. And there was a little bit of the, if you can imagine it, the creature does it type of thing. Venom, the symbiote, and from Marvel does that. As well as Green Lantern from DC, which is also very old. So, yeah, this version is not something made up of whole cloth. I don't know if any of the alt-right people are freaking out. They probably shouldn't be, because this is actually one of the Blue Beetles. They're doing the 3rd one from the 2000s, which makes sense because the target audience is going to be from the 2010s or so. So yeah, it makes sense. Do that, yeah. So who cares what the alt-right thinks? You're basically premise a sort of pseudo-fictional series of Palmyra, Texas. I guess it's supposed to be Texas. It was Austin in the original. They never. I don't think they did a cartoon of it and stuff. I guess the comic books. He was briefly part of Teen Titans at one point. I remember that, but other than that, not the cartoon so much, but the comic books back in the 80s, the 90s. Anyway, so yeah, but he's not a main character. I don't think the main character. He isn't necessarily a ripoff of Green Lantern, who can also imagine things to show up, weapons. The second Blue Beetle in the story, the Cord guy, he's apparently he was more of like a Batman, so they make a Batman reference. So he built a mech suit, and the bad guy has the mech suit tech in this one. From that, I guess Susan Sarandon playing the villain, who is the aunt of the Jennifer character. And we have the Reyes family, who are wacky, reminiscent of the brother and sister team from Spy Kids. Now they've grown up in their 20s, and they're on. It's not Alexa Vega though. It isn't. And it's not Danny Trejo. He just kind of acts. There's this guy kind of acts a little like him. It's somebody else. It's Rodriguez, I think, or something. Somebody else. Relatively new cast. Reminds me of Ant-Man as well. So the same, sort of. Oh, he's got goofy superpowers and can fly around and he forgets about half of them. About half, I think. So they're in this fictional city of Palmyra, and they've built where it's sort of like a cross between Metropolis and Wakanda, but with Latin American, Mexican people. And they show South America and Mexico at one point, and it's like, where is he supposed to be? Well, according to the books, it's supposed to be Texas somewhere. Which makes sense, because the guy in the story mentions in dialogue that he got over the border. I mean, he mentions that. So he's got to be in America somewhere. North America. So it's probably Texas. The Scarab Beetle was originally Egyptian, which makes it kind of confusing. But I guess the newer generation, little kids now, the post-millennials, they're familiar with like a reboot in the comics. Maybe there's a cartoon. I'm not sure. That might be current because they know what it is, apparently. So, the new modern suit looks very Neon Evangelion, which would go back to the 80s. Yeah, so yeah, it's a better version of the Namor story from Wakanda Forever from Marvel, because in this version they make the characters more realistic, but in a sense makes more sense. I mean, I know it's a comic book; it's not supposed to be realistic, but they make them more like a unit that gels in the story that works in this one. The critics are giving it about 75% on Rotten Tomatoes. About 2/3 of them like it. Is it part of the new DCE reboot thing that's coming up with Superman Legacy? Hard to say. It could be in similar. I think James Gunn has hinted that it's he's the new guy over there from Marvel. We put him in DC. They did. He hinted that it's that the Blue Beetle's in the universe, the Crisis universe, so he's part of it. So if he shows up, but they also did that Black Adam movie and they killed Dr. Fate, which doesn't make any sense. Be the last person to die would be Dr. Fate. So I don't know what they're doing. And the Fury of the Gods thing. Well, I know what happened with Black Adam and Shazam is that Shazam 2 is that The Rock wanted his own version of the Shazam movie serial, so he made his own version and they let him do it. He was supposed to be the villain in Shazam 2. He was supposed to show up because he was in the post-credit sequence, or there was a hint of him in the post-credit. He was supposed to show up and battle them, but he said, I don't want to do that, I want my own movie, I'm famous. Oh, so they're like, okay, they made him his own movie, which is why it seems like half a movie, because Black Adam wouldn't do that. Now with this one, they claim Batman is a fascist. But there's also, but yes, yeah, so and this is also seems a little bit like the Fast and the Furious with the family thing elements, and it reminds me of Coco and Day of the Dead, and reminds me of the Magic House one, what's the name of that? There was a Magic House. What the hell? It's a Pixar movie. Encanto. Yeah. I don't know what the previews were. Well, the previews were stupid. There was some haunted house movie and some of the thing. So we have, yeah. It kind of plays like Ant-Man a little bit too, because there was some of that, but it's not too smarmy or cheesy. Parts it's trying to be funny. The old lady was a rebel apparently in some kind of in this universe. Apparently, somehow the Latin American countries rose up and defeated the communists somehow, and they ran them off of the state they're in, wherever they are. And there's so it's a different world. It's a different Earth. I guess that's how they can get around the other story. They can just say, "Oh, this isn't really the DCEU from not Michael Bay, Jack Snyder. It's not really Zack Snyder, and it's not really the other guy. It's just its own little pocket thing." So you can treat it as an Elseworld thing. Yeah, the Blue Beetle's an Elseworld thing. There you go. There you DC guys. Like the Batman and the Joker were also Elseworld, so it didn't matter where they were. But yeah, so yeah, we have, which kind of makes it a little, yeah, they do better with standalone ones with DC. This one's, audience was enjoying it. There weren't a whole lot of people in it on a Saturday, day after it came out. There were a few, but, it was a pretty big theater, but it was only occupying, I think, 3 theaters at the 10 screen. And, yeah, and sort of the flip side of that Avatar 2 movie, where there was literally nobody watching it when I went there a couple of days after opening day. Nobody in the Avatar 2 movie. I can't believe that movie made $2 billion. This movie had a house that was, at least in this theater, was about a third full, but it was a big theater. So it's probably going to make $25 million opening weekend, which is not a lot. That's probably what it's going to be. They're claiming, oh, it's beating Barbie at the box office. No, it's not. I mentioned it goes over very well in Latin American countries, and that's awesome. But, yeah. Also, it's amusing that they were able to sneak past the censors some dirty words because they spoke them in Spanish and they just didn't do the subtitles underneath it. Yeah. And yeah, I know some Spanish dirty words because I'm from California. And but it's like, oh my goodness, yeah. And the translation, they deliberately changed the translation, so it just said, oh, dumb guy or something, or that's not what it means. I'm not going to say it on YouTube and get flagged, but that's not what it means. Those are words that everybody knows. So the audience was laughing at these. Like, wait a minute, that's not what the subtitles actually say. It's like, I know. I can tell what they're really saying. I don't laugh at that part. Like, oh my god, I think I just called. Oh shit. Just cussed at him and stuff. But yeah, if your movie's like 3 funniest lines were by some of the adult characters in the movie making Spanish dirty words, I don't know. There's something missing here. We have the hero, the niece girl, sort of like a Hamlet kind of thing going on. Evil aunt instead of uncle. The original Blue Beetle, it's evil uncle that does everything, and it's like Hamlet. This one is evil aunt, evil step aunt, and this one. So we have like this big company that's running everything, kind of like a Wakanda type of deal, mixed in with Stark Industries from Marvel. They're ripping off Stark Industries, but it's Latin America. But this corporation is supposed to be Caucasian that's running it, but not really. Well, Susan Sarandon's white, but I think she's Italian or something. Sarandon, Italian. But yeah. Anyway, so swarthy, yes. Playing the villain, and she wants to build mech suits and battle armor and stuff, and she wants to stop she's found the scarab from 2 generations earlier, and she's gonna use it to perfect her power armor, basically Iron Man suits. Iron Man suits, basically. She's gonna perfect them with this Beetle scarab thing, but the niece has stolen the scarab, put it in a burger box, and taken it out of the company and passed it to would-be employee who was our main protagonist of the story, Reyes. His last name was Reyes. Which name is Jaime Reyes. So that's Jamie Mezzi from Pine Hill. But as a hot young teen supermodel guy, 20-something supermodel guy, which is not Jamie at all. Back in the day, not at all. No, he looks more like Arturo from Pine Hill. So yes, back in the day. Yes. So. Yeah, I don't recall Blue Beetle even from the 80s, really, except for that Teen Titans crossover when they were in. Tim had Blue Beetle thing, so, wall. Suit kind of looked Robotech looking back then. It looked like an inorganic Robotech Invid kind of thing back in the day, so. Back then, yeah, super different. But now it looks more like an Evangelion thing. So you have your mech suit, exosuit thing, and you have your Elysium type of thing with the haves and the have-nots. You have your alien tech that's from Egypt, but they find it somewhere else. Of course, maybe in the story they hid it somewhere else, so they wouldn't go to Egypt looking for it. And the scarab is a symbiote, and it links with you with using symbiotic technology and sticks to you. There's a couple of lines in the movie where the funny uncle guy is going like the scarab, when the scarab thing, apparently there's like adult jokes in this, like the scarab thing got into him somehow. He said a couple of times, it went up your ass, like an alien probe, you know. And then whenever it melts his suit off, it melts all his clothes off. But you don't actually see his junk or anything. And they make a joke about his junk, and then it's cold out. And they're like, oh my gosh, we see your huevos. They didn't show the huevos, but here are your balls. And he's all like, what? It's cold out. He looks down. He wasn't, yeah, they were small. They didn't show them, thankfully. But The one playing his sister has better chemistry with him than the girlfriend, though. And the grandmother's like a butt-kicking assassin lady. Is she possibly the wasn't that like a mother character from not a Mother Jones? There was maybe it was Mother Jones. There was a paper called Mother Jones, but they took the name from the comic books. There was like a character who was this butt-kicking old lady. That's the joke. And she's kind of that. She's the butt-kicking old lady. She grabs a giant space gun and knows how to use it. And they're like, how do you know how to use that? Hold that right. And she said, I'll tell you later about the rebellion. Ah. Then she like walks off. It's like, what? But yeah, there was some cute scenes in it. But it's not going to make a lot of money because, yeah, your target audience is not familiar with it. That's part main problem. It'd be like the Kraven the Hunter movie that's coming out. I mean, that's even less. It's like, how many people know Kraven the Hunter? Not too much. I think what they have to do to make DC movies better is not try to be Marvel, and the Marvel movies got to stop trying to be DC by doing these other weird Kirby-esque things that are just a little bit too strange. But they did do a better job with the cultural thing than the Namor movie did. They know that Namor the Submariner is different, and they took a lot of liberties with that. They've already gone over that. But yeah, Namor is basically Aquaman. But because the Aquaman movie came out first, they're more familiar with the Aquaman movie, and they said, oh, this is a ripoff. But in fact, it kind of came out around the same time. Namor came out a little bit before Aquaman, actually. But in the comics, 50 or 60 years ago. But yeah, and he wasn't Latin, but that's okay, it's fine. But yeah, the feathered serpent thing was something else. It was another character. They sort of combined them. Yeah, the Quetzalcoatl thing, yeah, Atlantis myth thing. I've assumed that Atlantis would have been in Greece or in Africa somewhere. Wouldn't have been anywhere near there, but yeah, you never know. Anyway, so, but yeah, so you have, yeah, Blue Beetle. Special effects were fine. I noticed that toward the end they had to make a lot of stuff in the dark again because they figured, well, they don't look that good. So at the end of the special effects, they kind of look clunky and plastic. So we will photograph them in the dark, so you can't tell that his opponent's plastic shield thing is coming off and twitching on the ground. Also, earlier on, I was complaining about this during making our Robotech miniseries thing. Complaining about movies and TV doing this frequently with the focus point of characters. Including Oppenheimer did it too. This movie did this a lot too. It had this weird precedent of modern movies. You have two characters standing like in the fore and in the background, and they'd be like, this one would be here and that one would be there, and you'd have like a focus pull on this one. The problem is that the focus pull would then focus on this one, and this guy would be blurry, or it would focus on that foreground one before he's done talking, and they would be blurry. They did that a bunch of times in the beginning of this movie, and it was like, oh, yeah, this is a big budget Hollywood movie that they probably spent $250 million on, and you can't focus on the actor because you got too close. Your extreme close-up was so close that their face was way up here, and it focused on that. Well, everything else in the background went. There are a couple of scenes like that in there, and it's like, why did you let that happen in a big-budget Hollywood movie? Your cameraman should be looking through the cameras. Do another take. And I did the same thing in some of my stuff, but then I fixed it. That is a reshoot. If you have the two characters talking, then the one in the foreground is blurry, and that's the one talking, or one in the background is blurry, and the foreground's not blurry, and they're talking. You got to shoot that over again so that the guy that's talking is not blurry. Yeah, Hollywood, come on, get it together. I know we do not want to see an extreme close-up of the elderly Spanish man's face or the Spanish lady's face up real super close. We don't need to see the pores on his skin in 4D. We don't need to see that. We don't need to see right up his nose in 4D. Ew. See all the warts and all, you know. Oh. Yeah, so you have a centered frame. Extreme close-up. But yeah, yeah, there were scenes in that movie that were like, okay, yeah, they did obviously they did the special effects stuff out in the open and then had a big blue screen, probably a green screen. So when they cut the bus in half part, or they went to Peru with that one. Oh, I suppose the alt-right is freaking out that, oh my god, minorities are being included in movies, oh, our brains are melting. Oh. It's like, so? A feel-good movie. This one, oh yeah, this one though has the impetus that the creature doesn't kill, so it's like Batman. The Batman doesn't kill, even though he doesn't in some of those movies, doesn't he? I mean, in some of those movies, he totally kills. It's kind of funny that like he doesn't kill the villains or the bad guys. Lets the other bad guy fight the ant. I won't give it away. And yet, when they're fighting the soldiers and kicking their ass, I wonder like the ass kicking scene. Very, very much Spy Kids elements to it. Very much. They should have cast her. They should have found Alexa Vega and cast her in this somewhere. She just should have been in there. And Danny Trejo should have been in there somewhere. Maybe he was. That other guy was channeling Danny Trejo, but it wasn't him. It was a younger guy. It wasn't him. But it would have been fun had they done that and said like, oh, we're gonna cast some of the Spy Kids people. Just a cameo or something. It wasn't Rodriguez that directed it. Somebody else directed it. But yeah, the Beetle, he's not supposed to kill people. The symbiote thing kind of bites him in the butt later. But they're attacking the bad guy soldiers, the faceless soldier guys who attack the house and set on fire. And then there's another scene where they go to the secret base compound and they fight in there and they blow that up. And there's stuff going on. And they're clearly killing the bad guys, like left and right. But no, he doesn't fight the villain. He can't kill the villain at the end. He can't do that. But he can fight all the nondescript, faceless, covered up. He can fight those guys and kill them. Those dudes, some of those dudes were dead. Some of those dudes got slammed into walls, like from 20 feet away, into bricks, or into the ceilings, and cave-ins came down on them and stuff. They would have been so dead. It's like, and how did the girl gets in a cave-in? How did she get out of that? Let me explain that. Was there just like corridors everywhere? Yeah. Did she just happen to go the other way and found her way out? Yeah, it's a little puzzling. She doesn't have powers, and also if his family goes in there to rescue him, he gets captured by the villain, because you always get captured by the villain in the last act. That's what happens. And so you got to go in there and rescue him and steal the scarab powers. And it's like, why didn't he suit up the family member? He goes to Blue Beetle 2's house. They go, at one point they're in the mansion. They go to the Batman type mansion with Batman / Iron Man type mansion. And they find the abandoned mansion and they find all the tech. He should have armored up all of his family members in armor. So that would have been more realistic than just she has a shield, and the sister has a shield, and the grandma has a space gun. It's like, no, give them armor as well, so that that's realistic. Just a little more realistic. I know it's fantasy, it's a Beetle guy with symbiote, but, you know, they still get shot at, you know, the whole Hollywood, like, pew, you know, the armor. But yeah, it's like, no, I mean, you could add a little bit to this and give them tech as well and have them suit up. Give them, like, at least bulletproof vests or something. Here, you take these bulletproof vests. There was a fun scene where the villain bad guy is chasing them down the street. During the bus extended scene, there's a space scene, you see the trailer. The bus scene's in the trailer. The other scene's in the trailer. That part where the Tacoma, the truck, the Taco, it's called the Taco, but it's a Tacoma. Jenny and the uncle, the good guy, in a car, being chased by the main bad guy right behind him. He's gonna get them, and she's all like, "Okay, when I tell you, hit the handbrake really hard." And he's all, "I'm gonna stop the bad guy. He's getting about to kill our nephew over there." And she hits the handbrake, and they have like a jamming box which makes old Spanish Superman cartoons playing, old Spanish superhero cartoons. Puts them on the PA system, but they don't need that anymore because they've already escaped. So they go out and they're like, yeah, okay, hit the handbrake, and the momentum launches the scanner box at the bad guy's head, which would have killed the bad guy actually, but it didn't. It would have fucking killed him. He would have been dead. It would have like launched it like a missile, like a boulder out of the back of the car. Bong! It goes. That was funny. That was generally funny. Like, oh shit! Oh. Yeah, the hits actually look kind of real in it. They did a good job with the hits. Whoever was doing the stunt choreography in this, combination of like kung fu moves from Evangelion and a bunch of other stuff, and in action movies and luchador movies and stuff, they threw it all in there, and it works. So there are stuff that works in it, even though they had to make it a little dark whenever they showed the hero fighting people. I wonder why. This probably looked cheap. But yeah. So yeah, except for the camera oddities and him being basically Tony Stark version of the Green Lantern. Yeah, it was and Venom. It was fine. It was fine. Yeah. I see nothing wrong with saying it was a good solid 3 stars out of 5, I guess. It's not. It's fine, serviceable. I just don't think it's going to make any money. If it does, then that's pleasantly surprised. So that's nice. It'll probably make as much as Dora the Explorer the movie did, which is modestly, I guess. Eventually, you know, with the overseas stuff. It's not going to break even though. I think even like the Flash movie, which bombed, this movie will not break even because all of the because you have it probably cost $250 million to make it or more, and there's advertising, which is another $1 million or so. So it's from 300 and something million, maybe 400 million at the end of the day. If it makes 400 million, it'll break even just barely. So yeah, it won't. It'll be probably the highest 250, 300 million at the end. And I'm like, no, it didn't break even. No, it didn't. But that's fine. It's fine for what it is. It might actually do better as a cult classic later. Over time, people can watch this as a sort of... It'd make it kind of a fun Halloween movie. You can play it on Halloween. Halloween action movie, you know. Or after a really, really bad football soccer game or something. You know, like you have like a... You know, Manchester United or something, kicking some ass or something. And be okay, yeah, this after a particularly bad football or soccer game, they'll turn this on on their HBO Max or Max, and they'll watch it on Max because they want to watch something fun. So yeah, they could do that. But yeah, it was fun. But, yeah, it wasn't dreary. It was trying for that whole Shazam bit, kind of Shazam energy, and almost succeeded. And the character chemistry, like I said, the chemistry between the brother and sister is better than with the girlfriend. But it's just funny. The actors playing the brothers, but the chemistry between Sarandon and the main bad guy is just kind of unsettling and creepy. She does play a good villain, but yeah, disposable villain. Yeah. Anyway, so that was my thoughts on Blue Beetle, and yeah, ultimately, it was all right. Yeah, it was worth the 90 minutes or whatever it was. 2 hours. I think it was 2 hours. Seemed like it was 2 hours. Yeah. Ooh, except for that weird thing with the focus pull over here and over there, and they don't zoom in on the guy correctly. Why are they doing that in modern movies? Stop that. I think what's probably going on is, yeah, one thing, the cinematographer's not looking. And the other thing is, maybe they had to fix something in post because there was like something was out of frame, like a mic boom or something. Boom mic? Or something was not in the shot they wanted in there, so they zoomed in. That's probably what went wrong in some of those shots. They probably were like, oh, shoot, we can see the boom mic right behind that guy. Here, we'll just in editing, we'll in post in Photoshop, we'll just kind of zoom in a little bit. Hide that boom mic. Or there was like an extra standing behind their head, and they're like, gosh, dang. Well, we can't reshoot it. Zoom past the extra and just clip him out of the shot. It's not gonna work. Let's see the size of their house thing, yeah. What did it end like in Kanto crossed with Fast and the Furious? With them having a house rebuilding thing appearing. Yeah, sure. Also, they and it is like Coco. There are scenes that are like Coco, and I look for that as well, because they do like they'll have more moments in there. I won't give that away, but that's integral to the plot. I don't want to give that away, and don't want to give away the final boss fight either. But it was kind of dark, yeah. But yeah, not as bad as I mean, it wasn't as bad as like the first Wonder Woman movie or the second Wonder Woman movie. But yeah, the second Wonder Woman movie was terrible. It wasn't as bad as the original Suicide Squad. And the sequel was definitely an improvement when they were outside. The giant kaiju was in broad daylight. Like that. Clearly they had yeah. A lot of CG in this one, yeah. It was, yeah. Iron Man meets Batman meets Green Lantern meets the symbiote from that, yeah. Cross-pollination of DC and Marvel. It's been happening for years. People going back and forth. Stan Lee even worked briefly at DC. So Jack Kirby, you know. Well, maybe it did. It's sort of like stuck to his back, like one of those creatures from pancake creatures from Star Trek, classic Trek back then. It was on his back. It didn't go up his butt. It was on his back. That'd be funny. It was, oh man, mijo, it crawled up your ass. No, it didn't. Ew. 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 No, it's always cold out. Oh. Some characters calling themselves mushrooms. And it got right past the credit. Well, I'm sure the title people doing the title credits knew what those words meant. They just didn't want to print them, so they just kind of left that part out. I mean, cussed under it. The guy cussed, and the other guy cussed. It was like, let's not put that in the movie. Oh my god. But yeah, they got Dr. Fate wrong. And the tornado one was no. Dr. Fate.